That's that teacher. I'm gonna be quiet now.
Oh, okay. So clearly we're already having a good time over here. Before we even get started, we are celebrating today 10 years of Black Girls Are From the Future. Let's get into it. Okay. We have all the things happening today. Good evening, and welcome to Small Biz Bites. I am Gwendolyn G.R. Houston Jack, and this is another great episode that we have tonight. We are streaming live to Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube, and we are so excited to have the one and only Renina. Yes, Renina writes. She is here this evening. Hello to you, ma'am. Hello.
Hello, world. Hello, interwebs. Happy to see you here.
We were getting into a conversation. We were getting into a conversation about our last live. And we can revisit it once we get through some other stuff.
You can start off with it. I wrote about Chris Brown and Rihanna Fenty this morning. I wrote about it.
You did? What?
I got up and wrote about the 50th anniversary of hip hop and the 10-year anniversary of Black Girls Are From the Future.
All right. So please go ahead and get into it because
we'll get the setup.
Let me get some background. Okay, I'm getting to the background. Give a little background real quick. So we were discussing cancel culture. The conversation around the cancel culture was, where is the place for grace and mercy? That was the question. Because, we all have a past, right? I keep my skeletons in a well-organized closet, you know what I'm saying? But I do know there are some people, and for me, people who commit crimes against kids, right? That I can't. It's a no for me, right? So we all have that tipping point where we're like, you know what, I can't even find the way to forgive people, right? The other part of that grace and mercy was when it comes to people who are in the limelight, since they are just regular humans, why are they treated differently than anybody else who would be doing the exact same thing in their community? That's the question. What you got? You want to share?
I have a lot to say, but you have to understand, I take pauses, and my pauses are because I'm really thinking about what I'm saying, because context matters on the internet, and I came to the internet through writing. And when you write, you can carve out how you want to say it, links, background. But when you're speaking, I'm not trying to be a viral clip other than for selling my things. So, in particular, what we were talking about before we were starting our live tonight was Chris Brown and Rihanna Fenty, and you said something else you said something in particular that made my eyes do one of these. Do you remember what it was?
We were talking about Chris Brown and Sierra, the collaboration.
Sierra now. Okay. They have a new collaboration. Yeah. And I sense that your disposition is that she's entitled to work with him and that she should not receive any sort of pushback for making that choice.
My position is I look at extending grace and mercy. And I say with an asterisk to all people, but because I know that R. Kelly, I can't even attempt to go down that road. And so when I look at it, I say for myself, for us as people, where do you get to a place of extending grace and mercy because someone is extending grace and mercy to you for whatever transgressions you may have. So how long do you keep looking at people to say, and we bring up their past again and again? It's like, at what point do we say, you know what? It's not like you're living in this amazing house or space either. Like, we're all in glass houses, right? But I also know as a human, I also know there are some places I just cannot go. R. Kelly is a predator, and there is nothing that will help me get past that. I also do feel that, you know, organized religion is a protected place for pedophiles. We know that. So there are places where I know, okay, I don't have it in me to be that forgiving person. I don't have it. I'm not even gonna lie like that.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's what I have to say about this. And I've given a lot of thought about it.
Okay.
I've taught about it, and I've watched people go through the process of thinking about, should I let this person back into my life? I think that, and I'm going to challenge you here. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
You ready? Okay. I'm going to challenge you here. I think that your standpoint flattens out power dynamics. I think that what's key about Chris Brown and what I wrote about it took me like 2 hours. I was like up at 7 o'clock this morning. I wrote it, posted it, took a nap, and I was like, okay, I'm about to be with you tonight. So let me get myself together. The point that I made with the essay that I wrote was that I actually fell out with another Black man blogger at the time. Because this is pre everyone having a video capacity on their phone, and like celebrity pictures weren't just in our hands the way that they are today. And he posted the photograph of Brianna Fenty's face beaten up. And I was like, I mean, we knew each other well enough to text each other. So we were either texting or emailing. And I was like, yo, what's up?
Yeah.
Why is her picture here? And I was like, don't you have a daughter? I did the typical Black girl patriarchy thing. Don't you have a daughter? Don't you have a daughter? Girl, that don't have nothing to do with nothing in the world. You either respect people or you don't. It has nothing to do with what kind of children you have.
Yeah.
So that's the first piece. The second piece with Chris Brown is my homegirl, who I always talk about, Marquette Jones, made a movie titled Forgiving Chris Brown.
Okay, that's a bit much, but okay.
but it's a bit much, but that speaks to something very specific. You don't know her from a can of paint. Rest in peace, she's no longer here. She made the movie, and the movie was about a fictitious Rihanna Fenty. I should know this because I was there for the making of it. A fictitious Rihanna Fenty, a Tina Turner, I believe, a fictitious Tina Turner, and another, maybe a Halle Berry. All they kidnapped this guy to get revenge, and the whole time she's making it, and you know, when you're an artist and you're working with other artists, you're like, how's your project coming, girl? And I'm like, well, how do you want people to talk about this? Are you saying that we should forgive him? And she would never give me like a clear-cut answer, but her answer would always be around the realm of, we should be thinking about this. This is a question that our communities need to think about because so many of us have this issue in our day-to-day lives, right? And so when I look at popular culture, a lot of people will be like, oh, why do you write about Beyonce and Jay-Z? Oh, why do you do this? Why do you do that? And I was like, because that's where young people's emotional energy is invested. And because I care about young people, there's the old heads. Old folks are going to do what they want to do. They're boring. They don't take in new information. What is the other thing? I have like a trio. They're boring. They don't take in new information. They're dismissive and they're stubborn. Young folks will be like, okay, so what do you mean? What do you mean when you say that you consider public education to be self-genocide? What do you mean by that, professor? Well, let's talk about the difference between education for the children of affluent parents and the education for the children of parents who have low income jobs. But I'm moving away from the Rihanna Fenty. I want to answer your question. I'm loopy and I'm good. I think that a person like him makes choices. I think that grace is very important for Black people. I think that there has to be a line where we all decide that a line has been crossed. Right. I came to a conclusion last week literally, I was like, because I was really troubled by a Black man on social media being like, y'all help me accountable. And I was like, you're not held accountable. You wake up and you are accountable. You're not 5. The call is inside the house. Accountability isn't like internal integrity. You just, it just is. And so the flattening out of the power dynamics is difficult for me. Let me say this very carefully, because a good girl going viral for the wrong reasons.
No.
Look, for the right reasons. Buy my stuff. I'm selling it. Buy it. ReninaShops.com. I think that we are socialized to be addicted to charismatic Black men who are destructive. And I think that it's very difficult. It's very difficult to say, you know what, you shouldn't have done that. You need to get some help. And I can tell you why it's difficult. Because again, I've been blogging about this stuff for a long time. I think that if we start setting boundaries with the people with public personas that we care about, we'll have to start doing it in our personal lives too.
I agree with that. Yeah.
That's one of the reasons why it's hard.
Yeah. No, you clearly we're going to have to come back and have more of this discussion because, but you know, here's where we go with that. And this is where my brother and I had this conversation, and how the whole topic came up is because, you know, our society likes to believe in this very simple, good, bad, nice person, right? And the fact of the matter is, as I have said, I am very clear about my good parts and my bad parts. Very clear. And so I know, as I mentioned earlier, that like every single person, whether we know it or not, we're the villain in somebody's story.
Yeah.
Right? We just don't know it, right? And so when I look at how far, like how much would I allow or accept? Murder is wrong. Yes. However, if you touch one of my kids, right? So
a lot of people believe that
on the other side now, right? Because now it's like, well, that was justified. It's like, but was it? I mean, don't we have? So there's always it's that whole deal of how far do you? Okay, here's the deal. I'm sorry. We are going to talk about Renina.
We're not talking about me. It's literally at the essays at newmodelminority.com. Yeah. And so I don't consider it to be off topic, and I'll get the archive.
Let me welcome in our community. My mom is here. Hello, mother. Thank you for tuning in. We also have Gary Jackson tuning in. Hello to you, Gary. We are talking about Renina Jarmon. Let me get to some fun stuff, because what we like to do here, you know, when we talk about people, we want to get just what you want to share with us. But what are some 5 fun facts about you?
Sure. So one time, I was like, let me go ahead and be vulnerable. I'm from East Oakland, California, and I went to college in New York City. And I may have missed a couple of flights, but I was always able to, and this was when I was younger.
Yeah.
I was always able to like go, you know, return back home, reschedule the flight or whatever. Well, one time what had happened was I was not able to leave LaGuardia and had to sleep in the airport overnight. And I don't know if y'all have been inside of LaGuardia Airport in New York City. I think it's
well, it's nicer now.
It is, I've heard.
It was nicer now. It is very nice now.
Okay, say less. So now you can understand. It's probably like a little luxury experience now. Back then, it was pigeons. There were pigeons, and I was holding my bag, and the little bench was very uncomfortable. Yeah. But I will say that I think I was on Delta. The person at the checkout counter felt sorry for me and gave me an upgrade to first class.
Oh,
so I know, but I don't ever want to sleep in an airport as a result of my own carelessness. You know, because things happen, like you have weather and labor problems. I have no control over that, but I did too much, and I learned my lesson and haven't missed one since. So that's the first one. The second one is I love tacos. I think that they're fantastic. They're a gift from God. I'm serious. I try to have as many as possible in the summertime because that's when the tomatoes are good.
Yeah.
I listed 2 or 3 other ones. I did the East Oakland one. Oh, you can follow me at Renina Writes on all social media platforms. So that's Twitter. I'm figuring out TikTok where the young people hang out, but Twitter and Instagram are like my home. So I'm Renina Writes in those places. Is that 4?
That's 4. Yeah.
4?
Yeah.
What's 5th? I cannot wait for the SWV biopic. It hasn't been announced. Coco will respond to my comments on her social media page. And I like biopics and I want to see theirs.
You say you want to see the SWV biopic. You know, these, whenever you see, what was that? Unsung? You ever watch Unsung? Some of the stories, I'm like, what? That was happening? You know, it's that whole grass is greener thing that you're like, oh my God, they're singing and they're doing this and they're traveling, and all the while, all hell is breaking loose. All hell is breaking loose.
5 levels, Dante Inferno levels. Like, oh, you're experiencing that horror?
Right.
Oh, wow. Right. Another horror that we didn't know about.
There's a lot.
Beautiful.
There's a lot there. There's a lot there. So since we know some fun things about you, who are you? Like, who are you? Like, hold on. Is this you? Is this you right here?
Is this me?
Is that you?
Wait a minute.
Know what I'm talking about?
Is this me as well?
I think that's you. I think that's
me.
Yeah.
That's me? Is that me? Okay. So I'm a writer. I blogged for a very long time, and I was able to leverage that to going to graduate school. Literally, one of my writing samples is based on a blog post where I was writing about the history of Black women's labor and representation, going back to slavery up to the contemporary moment of Black women in rap music videos. Clearly, that was a while ago because the music video was what's the music video? They don't watch those. They're clips. So that is really my origin story and it's really not traditional because I'm not a journalist by training. I actually made a very specific choice to not do journalism. When I was in East Oakland and I was a teenager, I was a member of NABJ when I was 16, and I'll never forget because the meeting was at the Trans-America building. You know that little pointy building in San Francisco?
Yeah.
And this Black woman journalist they had like a little banquet with the breakfast and the juice and all of that stuff. And this Black woman got on stage and she was like, I had my job for 15 years and they let me go. I didn't know at the time. That was just nature of being an adult, but I was like mortified, like, oh my God. She had this prestigious job with like the Tribune or, the LA Times. They let her go. Now I'm like, girl, that's just life. So that early moment shaped me in many ways. And so I was just kind of like, I was interested in it, to the extent that I became like a team member. Like, what kind of nerdy stuff is that? That's like very, very specific and nerdy. So that is really, I think, the tipping point in terms of me being like, all right, but I'm not doing journalism.
so we got more of our community. Hey, shout out to Dr. Tachi. Hello, Tachi. Hello for joining in. We are just getting started. The cool thing about chatting with Renina, we're gonna make a song.
We are. I'm always dancing
because is that awesome? Is that, when I think about you, I think about the awesomeness that you have put out into the world. And so I remember when I came across a post that said, Black girls are from the future. I was like, you know what? Now my mom was watching, so I told her I wasn't gonna cuss anymore today. But I was like, ooh, we often do some things that are like out there. Like people are like, what? Like, wait a minute. You know what I'm saying? So could you just tell us more about Black girls from the future? Would you do that?
Sure. And I want to start off saying what I planned on saying when I first started this live, which is, first of all, I need to thank you. I need to thank you because you are one of my top supporters. Y'all, I had never met Gwendolyn face to face. She has bought t-shirts. She has bought hoodies. I remember I think I moved through 4 summers ago in 2018. I came online and she had a video. She was like wearing the hoodie and wearing the video. I was like, oh my God, I feel so loved. So no, I really want to say that to you because I think that it's very easy to A, not give other people their flowers, B, take it for granted. But I know that if it were not for you and other folks like you, who's gonna buy it? Who's gonna care? And so I want to be intentional on the record saying you have had my back and I'm very grateful. And it took me 2 years to learn that you knew Josephine. I didn't know that you all were friends. I was like,
oh girl, Joe and I, we can get into some trouble.
listen, I had no idea. And so for me, that leads me into a big part of Black Girls Are From the Future is that we value Black women's communities. We value our relationships. We value our connections. And we are, how do I say this? Because I feel like now I'm teaching Toni Morrison Sula. And the point of Sula with Morrison is that Black women's relationships are important and holy, and marriages are important and holy. That is a big part of Black Girls Are From the Future. But to go to the origin story, so hold on, let me get a sip. It's not a good story, it's a hard story.
I'll let you get your sip in.
Let me get my sip. So I moved to DC to go to graduate school. I had lived in New York for a long time and I had just had a breakup and I was dating a person and it was like long distance. And he had said, well, go to Maryland for school. And we were like, it was bumpy off and on. And he was like, go to Maryland, go to school. And, when I'm done, I'll come down there. And I was like, yeah, we gonna be together. I'm gonna be in graduate school, new city. Moved me down. Girl, at the end of that first semester, broken up. Oh my God, I'm in a new city. Alone in a new city. I'm 3, I think, what is that on Amtrak? It's like 3 hours away. Yeah, so I'm 3 hours away. And my father actually played a big role in the origin story of Black Girls Are From the Future because I had been to New York. I stayed with Jonesy, Marquette Jones, who I mentioned before, the person who made the Forgiving Chris Brown. And I came back. My dad was like, how are you? Because I really like this person. And he was like, well, what are you going to do? And I was like, well, I'm just going to stay home and make some gumbo. He was like, for New Year's. Okay. I mean, he was like, well, do you have any money? Can you go back to New York? Because you have friends there. And I was like, yeah, I do have friends. And I've always had they've always had an open door policy for me because I like to leave a small footprint and I like to stay out the way. So I'm like, girl, you can always come back. We don't even know you here half the time anyways, unless you're sleeping. And so I went back and stayed with another friend because my father said something very clear. He said, Renina, you're too young and too pretty to sit alone at home by yourself on New Year's. Go back. Don't feel bad about going back if that's where your friends are. And he's also said specifically, you want to make gumbo, come back on the 2nd or 3rd. The gumbo will be there. That apartment will be there. But go. And so I went because I kind of felt like played. Sometimes when you have a breakup, you don't really want to be around nobody. Like, dang, man. It's New Year's. I'm by myself for real. Like, what I'm about to do.
Such 90s thoughts.
What'd you say?
Those are such 90s thoughts. The idea of not being alone on New Year's is like,
oh, yeah. Totally divested. I check into hotels now on New Year's and go to sleep at 10 o'clock. But I went back and I had a pair of leggings that were silver and I went to a party in Brooklyn. I'll never forget. It was on Franklin Avenue. And I ran into a friend of a friend and she was just like, I thought you moved to DC. Where you come from, the future? And I was like, yeah, I said, from the future. And so it was a moment where there was this element of community. There was this element of not having a pity party. There's this element of listening to my father, right? And being taking what he said seriously. There was this sense of advocating for myself and being like, okay, well, these are not ideal circumstances, but I'm about to go. And so right around that time, I was probably blogging twice a week. That was 09. And then 2010 was when I used the hashtag in a tweet. And the tweet, and I'm paraphrasing myself, so don't quote me. The tweet says, thank you, Zora, for I think thank you, Zora, for loving us, or thank you, Miss Hurston. Thank you, Miss Hurston, for loving us and showing us that we don't have to assimilate. Black girls are from the future. We don't have to assimilate. So it's a lot. There's an origin story, and then there's like this Black woman's literature kind of infused in.
Yeah. It caught my attention. It definitely caught my attention because I was like, wait a minute, wait, what? Yeah. And we know, I mean, if we think about beyond Zora, like my favorite author is Octavia Butler.
Sure.
And I just absolutely love how she, I'll say, attacked and discussed a lot of social issues using Afrofuturism, right?
Sure.
So we know that, you know, these beautiful brown and Black women, we have done some things that cause you to think. And I know for myself, wearing my shirt to work on the regular, I wear my shirt to work, or my sweatshirt to work, and people will often say, "What does that mean? Like, what does that mean?" And I was like, well, you know, the stuff that we're doing is so far in the future, y'all can't even catch up yet, but you know.
Sure.
What I tell you.
Sure.
And then people are like, okay, so I don't know if I should have asked that question or not. But I absolutely love what it stands for. And I do see where there is a connection with the literary and also the relationships of Black women. And just having that pride. Like when I bought those extra shirts and sweatshirts, it was for my niece. Because I thought, you know, she needs to know, you know, we doing some serious stuff, right? Like, and if you are not aware, you're not told early about just how wonderful you are, it can definitely shape what path you take. Now, my mother always told us that we were, you know, made in God's image and we're beautiful and handsome and attractive. Like, you know, we are some slightly cocky people. I'm not gonna lie about that. So when I saw it, I was like, I have to get into this. Now, when did you make it into a business? When did that happen?
So one of the consequences of using the hashtag on my blog was people saying, you should put that on a shirt. I would buy it. I was like, you would buy it? How much? 25, 30. What about a tote bag? Literally.
All the things. We would buy all the things.
All the things, like, folks, that writing thread, that like non-traditional writing thread is so connected to my origin story, because it was a place that allowed people to find me before. Like, so if I were to emerge today, people wouldn't find me. They wouldn't find me. They wouldn't find me. I think not in the way that they were able to before, because there's so many voices. You have to. People will go to work and log onto the blog and be in the comment section the way that they are on Facebook now. If I were to emerge now, I would have to just completely be doing videos, like in the way that I was writing every day. And my first inclination for anything is to write. Like, I have lists of all of the groceries that I need to get from every grocery store so that I never have to think about it. I have lists of just everything. Like, the way that I solve problems is that I make either a folder for it, or I'll do a document with just bullet points. Even with remember I sent you the answers to your questions this morning? You did. I mean, I thought to myself, I was like, oh, she's so prepared. Because I like to tell people before they arrive, because I want to know just how far I can push a conversation. Because I was born picking up dust. That's who I am. I'm not gonna lie about being a slightly troublemaker. No, it's not being a troublemaker. But I'm saying that's my default setting. Is my point. And I learned that in graduate school. You had everything thought. I was like, oh, okay, so she's ready. All right. And let me ready. Dr. Tashi is saying that she loves your rationale, and I do too. I mean, it's funny how. Not funny, haha, but it's interesting how sometimes there are situations that, you know, in that moment we're thinking, oh my God, this is so awful, but it truly is a blessing. No, it was really awful. I do not recommend being in graduate school in a new city by yourself and like, you have to realize that was my second move. I went to New York when I was 19. So we're in the same boat.
You know, we
yeah,
girl,
so I was like, I had already started from zero. Yeah.
Yes. But I love the city. I love the city. Loved it. Now, that whole part about moving, all I heard was that there was a guy involved, and we moved because of love, and that.
No. This the person said that they would join me. I was in DC. I was in DC. Like I was there. No, I actually, you want to go ahead and be in my business? I'm gonna put you in my business. I got into the school. I'm gonna put this out here for Black girls watching. I got into the school and got funding to go to graduate school in his school. And one of my homegirls said, don't do it, because if you do, it is tacit approval. I had to look up tacit. I was like, she is a lawyer. I had to Google tacit. I was like, what do word mean? She said it is tacit approval for you to treat him for him to treat you the way that he wants to. Go to the school that is appropriate for you. Gwendolyn in my business.
Yes. Well, hey, I trust.
Don't follow him.
We have all had some fork in the road. We've all
but
had
that's that relationship piece too, where she's like, don't do that.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
No, we've made some decisions here and there. But let me not go down that path, because I want to take it to another place. What are your top 5 music artists? I mean, this is the 50th year of hip hop. Now, you don't have to go down that path. I'm not saying that. But what you got?
That is not on the sheet.
Of course it's not. I am an interviewer. Hello. Come on now. Now
I need parameters. I need parameters.
We love sidebars here. We love sidebars.
I'm a walking sidebar. I'm gonna have to remix that question. Who are the artists that mean the most to me spiritually as a Black woman hip hop head?
Okay, I'll take that.
Okay,
I'll take it.
So, Dave from De La Soul. I love Dave. Dave just transitioned earlier this year.
Yeah.
And Dave was meaningful because, and this is going to be a part of the essay that I'm writing in my memoir that's coming out on March 14th, 2024.
Okay.
It'll probably be March 24th, 2024, because I like numbers. And I remember like being small knee cakes, right? In East Oakland, California. And I listened to music that was a little bit older than me because I had a big brother. And my big brother, he had money for the tapes and all that stuff. And so I remember being small, and like, this is the middle of the war on drugs in deep East Oakland, California. And there was just like this, in pop culture, the representations of Black manhood was Boys in the Hood out there? Yeah. Because it was like Boys, NWA.
Yeah.
In terms of the East Coast, it was really dominated visually by West Coast representations. Mm-hmm. And so I'm looking at, the little, what's like Yo TV Raps or whatever, the rappity rap shows were. And I see his Black man with the little daisy colors like I have in the background, and they'll have little flowers. And I was just like, where is Long Island? How can I get there? Like that, that really, again, like in terms of being from the future, there's this idea that I'm entitled to move. I'm entitled to make my mind up to go somewhere and be curious about, other places, but also moving my body. So I would say Dave, spiritually, John Coltrane has had a really big impact on me. I fell in love with him in part because my uncle was a DJ for a long time at KPFA. He just transitioned during the first phase of COVID. Rest in peace. His name was Peja on the internet, and he made me my first mixtapes. And I know. And he was like this, sometimes like Black men, older Black men came back from Vietnam, like really radical.
Yeah.
He was one of those, but I will give you the description of him. My uncle was radical in the way that he lost one of his legs on the Vietnam. But let me tell you something about picking yourself up. Not only he got prosthetics, he had 2. Why did his prosthetics have one with Malcolm X and the other with Haile Selassie? Like, you knew who he was. He didn't have to use any words. So he was like my vessel. Yes. He was my vessel for understanding Black culture from a place of you have a legacy and you need to know what it is. Listen to this Malcolm X tape. I was 10. What was I gonna do with a Malcolm X speech tape? So Naima, I have a children's book named Naima's Adventures, and Naima is named after John Coltrane's first wife. And John Coltrane, before he made talk about forgiveness and love and grace and mercy, he had a really bad, I think it was heroin. He had a really terrible heroin addiction. And in his sobering up for like the, last and final time, that's what A Love Supreme came out of. And he was with her then. So I've always been moved by that story. And just the transformational part of it to connect back to our conversation about Chris Brown. Right. So yes, love and change are always possible if you do your work. Love and change
have to do the work.
It's not free.
It's not free.
Do your work. Do your work.
You got two.
Love you.
You got two.
I might not get through 5 because you didn't give me time to think about it. You're not gonna have ancestors in my
What kind of
I gotta get some Black women in here. Let me know. Hold on. Oh, Mary. That was the other person I saw on the TV when I was small. And I was like, she was like this. I was like, I'm gonna be like this. Where's Yonkers? Where is this woman at with these hats on and this hair? I need to get to New York. Mary,
before you go on, let me just say that Dr. Chachi says that Naima is one of the first songs she learned to play on the saxophone.
So beautiful. So beautiful. Like listening to John Coltrane regulates my nervous system. When I teach, I turn on The Love Supreme. Like remember when we came earlier today to get set up? When I would normally teach, I'd be like, okay, come in. We got the John Coltrane playing, and then I would have like some kind of documentary on the screen on mute. Like, let's get you settled in and prepared and ready to learn these wonderful things today. So, Mary, I'm gonna have to leave it at that.
Okay.
We're gonna have
That's
to leave
enough.
that.
Mary's
there.
enough.
Yeah. And it's true. Like, that could be cross-validated. That could be peer-reviewed.
Do you have 2 more by chance?
No, nope. No. Mm-mm.
You have to think it through. I like I said, we love a good sidebar. We love a good sidebar, and we like just sort of throwing it in there, right?
That's okay.
Because it keeps the conversation going. But here's the deal. When you mentioned how if you came out now, that you probably wouldn't have the same, because there's so many voices. I know for myself, it can be very noisy. Extremely noisy. So let's talk about Black creativity on social media over the last decade.
It's phenomenal. It is phenomenal. I mean, I'm going to say it's unlike anything I've ever seen before. It's unlike anything anyone has seen before.
No.
In graduate school, actually, one of the things that I did was study Black women's digital ecosystems. So I looked at how basically Black women got on the internet, and they may or may not have wanted to go to Hollywood. They may or may not have wanted to do mainstream. But in the meantime, they were like, let me make my art. Let me fundraise for my GoFundMes. Let me get my subscriptions out. Let me find my people. And folks would, like they did with me, show up and say, y'all buy that. Y'all buy that. Or we don't like when you put this character in the web series. Why did you cast so-and-so and such and such is doing that? And so over the last year, I would say that when was Shondaland on with the lawyer show? Scandal represented a tipping point of people really feeling like they had something to say on social media and speaking to each other and speaking to the creators directly. One of the things that I see now, because I spend most of my digital time on Instagram, is that Instagram is a place where young people are just, they blow my mind. There was a young man, I didn't know about this young man, he doesn't do it anymore, but there was a young man who had like a substantial following, young Black man in Europe. And he would screen print show his art on a Monday, screen print it on Tuesday, and sell them, and then ship them out at the end of the week. And he was making enough money to support himself. And so I would say the layers of the internet in comparison from then to now is the ability to sort of sustain yourself. And I'm not saying you'll be like super rich cajillionaire, millionaire, or anything like that. But if you want to like be steady working and have folks who can tell you directly, yes, I will give you $30 for that. That just is fantastic and meaningful in a way that did not exist before, because the folks who care about you don't necessarily have to be in your community.
No, I agree with that completely.
You all the way across the country. I'm on the other side of the country, yet and still, I consider you. I think about you. I'm like, ooh, we're going in line like this. I wonder what she would think about if I made it. I think about the folks who supported me because it matters. Yeah, it matters. And so the technology shifted with Scandal. I would say the Scandal period was also the rise of video. We couldn't have done this 10 years ago.
No, not even. I mean, no.
The capacity for memory and the actual hardware, changed to facilitate us to be able to connect in new ways. So yeah.
Well, I agree completely. Because I mean, for myself, I may have had like one or two podcasts that I would have listened to, but it was not like a constant thing. But with the shift in technology and people having more access, then you get this flood of, I have an idea, I can go to the masses, versus if we think about, what was it, EPMD? In the demo tape?
My sister like EPMD.
Yeah. I was at the demo, so I was like, like those moments have been removed because we have so much access now that if you are a creative, you have a voice, everyone has access to the platform. You get to choose how you deliver that and show up. So
asterisk. I'm gonna add an asterisk to that. The issue that is meaningful to this day is, yes, you are able to sort of be with your communities and find your people, but I'm going to go ahead and say that distribution matters. Distribution matters. And I have been so creative in getting distribution. Like for Naima, I would do consignment. There's like a bookstore across the street from Howard University, Sankofa, like books and video. I did consignment there. They were like, give us 10 books and we'll sell it for you. And then come back in like a month or whatever, and we'll cut you a check. We'll take a certain percentage. I figured out how to get Naima into libraries, where I literally gave my friends the ISBN number and said, here's a number, write to your library, ask the librarian to buy my book so that it is in the library, and also so that I can make the sale. And folks would be like, oh, they would be happy to do it because they would have access to the book and they didn't have to spend any money. And so there is a way that I'm speaking to your EPMD moment of listen to my demo. Yeah. Distribution matters. It matters. Being able to partner with a company that's like, oh, you have these journals? Okay, we'll help you move 1 million of them.
But isn't it somewhat easier now though? Because in the past, it felt like it was this huge mountain you had to climb to get any kind of something. And now it's almost as if, I'm going to use the term Build-A-Bear to a certain degree, that if you want to write a book or do X, Y, Z, there's a pathway that you can take that sort of takes away some of the hard labor that was there in the past. Has that not changed?
You have walked right into the middle of an online course that I literally wrote last weekend, because I realized that the passive income gurus lied. They lied.
I could have told you that. You can tell me that part.
Well, but here's the thing: you have to realize I'm an OG, so I'm looking at the rhetoric, and I'm looking at my sales, and I'm looking at the history of my sales, the sales that I have now, and I'm looking at their rhetoric. I'm not a person who's new to this. And so I was literally I was reviewing what the different passive income gurus were saying, because I wanted to see, well, what is, basically a literature review. What did they say? And so I would take their little PDFs, send them to Kinko's, and I took it seriously. I wish it's on the bed right there. I had them bound, and I would just flip through them and say, okay, do this. This is how you launch. Here's how you get your pre-sales, diligently just being a little bear, Renina, doing my stuff. And then I was like, oh, they be lying. The writing, and this is literally the name of my course, is The Passive Income Gurus Lied. You wrote your book, now we'll help you to sell it. Writing it and publishing it is so easy. So easy. Like, I could walk you through writing and publishing a book this weekend. If you like, Renina, I want to write a little 100-page memoir this weekend. I was like, let's do it. We'll do audio to written text. We'll handle it on Canva, send it to Amazon. Boom, book. Now sell it. Who's gonna buy it? Who's gonna buy it? Where? With what money?
Well, if
hold on. Let me be very practical. Let me say this, because this matters to me. There's 26 pay periods in a year. 13 of those are for mortgages. I know my customer journey cold.
She said,
so you have 13 opportunities for folks to be like, here's some of my hard-earned money.
Yeah.
For you, for your lovely products. The writing piece and the social media piece, and getting people to come out their pockets and give you 40, 50, whatever dollars. 3 different things.
Well, it's I was telling someone this the other day, maybe about a couple of months ago, that when people even use the term passive income, a lot of folks don't use it correctly. Okay. So just having like this, as you say, like an ebook or something, you're still working. That's work.
Hard.
That's work. It's not like you're getting a royalty check that comes in from something that is just doing its own thing. Like, you're just in bed and the money comes in. That's not what that is. That's
sure.
Not. But I am curious about this, because we were talking about this a little bit. But how are you surviving in this post-affirmative action world?
Well, Black girls are from the future, so we've already been plotting for it. The educators, the black. Am I gonna say this? I'm gonna say it. Let's be bold. I remember the first time that I heard a Black woman, and it was Marquette Jones, rest in peace. My homegirl told me about her homegirl. She was, what is Pink and Green sorority? AKA? She was AKA. It was one of her sorors. Mm-hmm. And her soror just had a baby. So the baby's like a toddler. And mind you, this is 23 now. So we're talking maybe 18. She was like, I'm raising my baby with the assumption that there won't be any jobs for him.
Oh. That's different. Okay.
So if you move through life as a mother of a Black boy child or girl child or non-binary child, whatever, all the babies, if you move through life with an understanding that the future is going to look very different than now, then you're not reactive.
Ooh. That's
a big part of who I am generally as a person, and a part of being a Black girl from the future is that we listen to the OGs. We listen to Black women writers. We listen to Black feminists. We listen to Black women film directors, because they've already given us the answers. We just have to humble ourselves. Because sometimes I literally be like, man, I'm having this problem right now. What would Toni Morrison say? How would she fix this? Is it a Kathleen Collins or Tony K Bombara story that helps me to understand this little passive aggression email I'm going through right now? Because I don't want to mess up my money, but I don't like how they're talking to me. How do you know what I'm saying? How do I optimize
Yes, I do.
So that really is a big part of it. Like we saw that coming, and one of the very first things that I say to my students in my African American Studies class is, one, please be prepared to walk with me through the complexity of African American history. Let's get out of the binaries and think about it being complex. And when we talk about social progress, please be willing to look at it with me as it being nonlinear. Okay? Because they're some, even though they're not as dismissive as adults, sometimes they can be dismissive and be like, oh, there hasn't been any improvements. And I was like, okay.
Yeah, we've heard that.
Wait for it. I'll be like, okay, go give me a map of housing policy or educational policy that shows both progress and setbacks over the last 20 years in the county where you live. And most of them were from PG County in Maryland. And they would be like, oh, well, this thing happened in my high school. This was fascinating. We were talking about the connection between gentrification and housing segregation. And the students were able to see that when their schools were underfunded, right, and their schools received more funds, the zoning was changed to not allow the Black children who lived in the community to go to the school anymore. So that we were like, we need more money. Yep. And then they get money. You're like, yeah, it's a lottery now, boo.
they do. There's the idea that that's going to happen, or I should say that's the unspoken plan in HISD, is to make a lot of those schools into charter schools and change how it currently is today. People are hip to the game, though. Those parents are very hip to the game, and they are paying attention. So we'll see what happens down there. But yeah, the idea of raising your child with that mindset literally changes the game. I mean, I would consider that as either as a conversation.
I think it's practical.
Yeah.
I'm also very practical. My default setting is practical too. Very,
well, let me talk about your default setting on this sidebar. So tell me, what do you love about being a Black girl from the future? You tell me.
Ooh, the thing that I love the most about being a Black girl from the future is that I'm a genius and I can learn from anybody. I think that most people are geniuses and they're annoying. I mean, I can be annoying because I have like this big Fran Drescher laugh, but that's something else. But I can literally learn from anyone, and it's really disarming. And I think because DC is a place that has so many people who are like have a lot of formal education, the things that I'm most curious about when I talk to them, because they're like, oh, you're an outlier, you're an artist, you're a writer. What are you writing? What are you writing over there? I'm like, oh, Lord. Okay, buy something. I'll tell you if you buy something. The thing that I like about it is being able to learn from anyone, especially young people. I like learning from people who don't think that they have something to teach me.
Oh. See, I always go into a conversation, I should say every interaction, knowing that I'm going to learn something from this person. So I look to surround myself from those who have different perspectives, that are different ages, and who have a different life than what I'm living, because that allows me to see the world in as many ways as possible.
Sure.
So I look for that. Yeah.
But holding on to that genius piece, like you can say, Renina, you're really smart. I'll say thank you. Like I know how to take a compliment. I know how to receive a gift. Renina, I'm gonna cash app you so and so and such and such. Thank you. Because here's the thing. I don't look at myself as just being myself. I look at myself as being a part of a longer legacy of Black women who were never able to receive, If my grandmother was able to go to college, she would have ran the UC Berkeley system on site. I am her namesake. I'm serious. I am her namesake. She took nothing off of anyone. And so when people are kind to me, I accept it graciously, because I know it's not just me. It's for them as well. It's a genealogy.
I love that. I have a hard time saying thank you. I have a hard time. Well, take it back. It depends on what people are saying to me that I have a hard time accepting. Sometimes I believe that people say things for their own attention.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And so for that, I don't feed into it. It's like, I don't need you to tell me that. I already know that. So
I say when it's genuine.
People like, you don't say thank you for what? Stating the obvious? No, of course
not. Oh, my favorite is, oh, your wig is cute. I'll be like, thank you. I bought it. Oh, I like your rainbow hair. Thank you. I bought 2 of them. It's cute. Thank you. Yeah. I know.
So there is that. So let me get into, because man, we've been talking, and like I said, I really do. Obviously not on this one tonight, but I would like to get into more of that grace and mercy conversation. But so you got the business, and you were talking about passive income and how the gurus lied, and there's so many mixed messages on social media that it's just much you want to scream. But what advice do you have for people who are looking at starting their own business?
Sure. I really thought very carefully about this because, again, I literally am in the middle of launching this course titled "You Wrote Your Book, Now I Will Help You Sell It." And when I started thinking about what the passive income gurus were lying about is the timeline, right? That it takes to get to a point where you make a product, you ask Gwendolyn, you ask Josephine, you ask all of these folks who are in your communities who have a history of supporting you. Girl, if I made this, would you buy it? Who do you think I would who do you think would buy it? Another moment happened for me. Is it serendipitous? Well, I like that. Serendipitously. Look, the English language is a strange beast. I have a journal, and one of my homegirls that I know through social media is a social worker. And in the middle of talking to her, she was like, Renina, why don't you do a journal for Black girls who are just entering the criminal justice system? And I was like, that is my love language all day. Like, I'm put here to do that. And I was like, okay, well, what do they need? What kind of problems do they have? And so that kind of process of being like, I have an idea, I was like, well, would your office buy it? And how much do you think they would pay? And would they do bulk? Like, I'm workshopping it. All of that is labor.
Yes, all of that is work. It's work. It's work.
So I would say, do your research, right? Just listen to everyone. And then you have to get into the weeds and see what actually happens when you commit for 3 months. When you commit for 3 months, when you commit for 6 months. And so this goes back to my time in the college classroom. I have really good pedagogical training. And for folks who don't know what that fancy word, who don't know what that word is, it just means that I was trained for a year to learn how to teach. And so I would have my syllabus done on the first day of class. I would change it, but 16, I know, goonery behavior, goonery. But here's the thing, Maryland is a D1. And so I would always have a lot of football players and a lot of basketball players and some track players. And I would tell them, you need to see the syllabus because I don't want to hear it. In week 6 or 7, I didn't know.
Yes.
I sat down and got this. And I was like, I'll make minor changes. I know you all hate changes because once you get it, it's like a contract between us. I was like, I know you hate changes. I had to change it. And most of the time when I will make changes, I will take stuff away. I wouldn't give extra because they will rebel. But my point is that you don't really know how something works until you get into the middle of it. But here's the thing, because the course was already laid out and I don't play hide the ball with them, I would give them examples of anything except for the final and the midterm. Because I'm like, I want you to win. If you lose, it's because you're lazy. Because I set you up to win. I don't it doesn't boost my ego to fail you. I will if you don't, So to go back to the entrepreneurship piece and connecting the two, when the student would say, well, I'm confused, I was like, did you try? You're not confused, you're lazy.
See, I don't believe in try. I don't. I believe you. I mean, now I'm a Star Wars fan, so I'm gonna go ahead.
Do or no do, there is no try.
Master Yoda. I'm gonna go ahead and do it. There is do or do not. There is no try. There really isn't, because you either are coming to succeed and win and blow it out of the water, or you're not coming at all. It's what I mean in between.
What I mean by is, did you start? Did you start? And so, but that's really the distinction, because I would say to them, if you started and my instructions were wrong, I would say, oh my goodness, thank you for telling me. I'll fix it. I'll tell everyone else, because my disposition was, if I'm wrong, then everybody else just gets automatic credit, right? But if 70% of my rule was 70%. If 70% of the people got it right and 30% was best didn't understand,
that was you.
like, that's laziness. You did what you were supposed to do. But girl, if it goes beneath that 70, I'll say Professor Error, I messed up. So okay, what we're gonna do is
we've had a moment or two of like, oops, I think I missed something. Okay.
Yeah. We're just making it a part of yeah, but a big piece of that entrepreneurship connection between that moment and the advice that I would give is you don't know what you're doing until you start. It has to be practice.
Yeah, it's true. You really don't know until you
don't know what
you're
doing.
Know.
It's like dating a person. You like them, you think they're cute, get into the middle of it. Go through the trenches with that person. Then you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
That is, I definitely give you that. So let me do this because oh my goodness, like okay. So I know we're here. It's already been an hour. We are going to cover just a little bit more. I want to talk about, or I should say, we can come to our crescendo, if you will. Your grief journal. Renina, did we lose your foot for a quick second?
No, I'm here. I had an alarm telling me to water my. I had an alarm telling me to water my plants.
Oh, yeah, well, yeah. So, let's talk about your grief journal, would you please? And your journal collection. Let me say that.
This is the grief journal. This is the one that I think that young people are going to love. Girl, you ain't an imposter.
Yeah, I like that title.
Mm-hmm. The grief journal in particular. The grief journal comes out of a tweet I posted about 3 or 4 years ago, and I was like, Black girls need grief doulas. And Black women were like, girl, you're right. Yes, we do. I was just talking about this. And the reason why I said it is because grief is something that I think very deeply about. And I think that it can be really isolating. Because if you live, you're going to have losses.
Yeah.
That's just life.
Yeah.
And there's no handbook that necessarily you can be given to say, okay, this is how you deal with the loss of a sibling. This is how you deal with the loss of a relationship, a loss of a job. This is how you alchemize it. This is how you don't spiral. This is how you allow yourself to spiral and come back. Right?
Yeah.
And so I think that in some ways this goes back to my love of Black women filmmakers and that's why I wouldn't answer your artist question. That's why I wouldn't do it. It goes back to that too. Because I love Black women artists because they care about the interior lives of Black women. And what I mean by the interior lives is not the aesthetics matter. Like, we want to be cute. Like, we're gonna do that. But like, that's a given. But how are we handling our despair? How are we handling our grief? How are we handling our loss? Do we have anybody to talk to about it? Because sometimes they're just like, people don't have the range. And we're isolated. And so I was like, let me make these journals. Let me make these containers that provide the space for women in general, because a couple of the journals are for all women. Yeah. And for Black women in particular, to have a space to handle their grief. So hold on, let me find a question for you. Oh!
Okay, I'm ready.
You don't have to answer it.
I'm good.
You sure? Oh, yes, you're ready. I just flipped to it. Okay. Grief and powerlessness are often connected. Have you ever felt intense grief when you felt powerless around being able to help someone, or not being able to help someone?
Have I ever felt grief and
over being powerless over being able to help someone? So you have a homie, they are just catching it. Like, I call myself being like in the ring with Mike Tyson these last few months, and I'm like, I'm in the ring, and you look at a person suffering and there's nothing that you can do about it. have you experienced grief around that?
Oh.
Because then the next question I'm going to ask is, have you ever not been able to help yourself?
Oh, that, you know what? That's a great question. Okay, so this clearly this is about to go. This is about to go more than it's already an hour and some. But okay, so have I ever experienced grief from not being able to help someone, feeling powerless? Okay, so if I have to look at I'll say the past 10 years, I'm going to be honest and say that answer is no.
Good.
Here's the deal. Because there came a point in my life where, you know, for a lot of us, and take it back, for a good number of Black women, there is this idea that we have to be the savior and solver and soldier of all things. And so we put everybody's problems on our back and we carry it like it's a badge. And then we are just completely like our cup is empty, right? We are always working, always giving, completely forgetting about ourselves. And there was a point in my life when I was like, screw all of this. Like your problem, no offense, is not my problem. And I'm not here to solve everybody's problem. That's not why I'm here. Sure. I am not the solver of all things. I don't mind listening to you, but I don't have the capacity right now. So I'm gonna have to pass on that. So me feeling like I can't help somebody, did I feel awful about it?
It's not your ministry.
Not my ministry.
Okay.
I'm a nurturing person. So when people talk about solutions, I don't always see solutions as being something tangible. Sometimes it's just me giving you the ear. I will listen to you, and I will let you be in your grief or your mess or your worry or whatever for a little bit amount of time. But like I was telling earlier, you know, I was homeless for a little bit and we didn't have anything. And so when people don't see the very obvious everyday blessings, I'm like, I give you this much time to bitch about something and we got to move on. Yep. I can't stay there. So when I was younger, I would say there was probably some places, not even probably, there was some place where we did some really dumb things for people because we felt the need, like I have to do because this is, that chick, she died a long time ago.
Fair. And I mean, that's important to know. And that page wouldn't necessarily be for you. Yeah. But the fact that how do I say this? The fact that you knew exactly what I was talking about and you were able to disidentify with it. Mm-hmm. You were like, I know what that is. I'm not doing that. That's actually my middle. That's my other favorite part about being a Black girl from the future. I'm not doing that.
No, we're not doing that. No,
I'm not doing that.
And it's just one of those, like, that in itself is another cocktail or coffee conversation, because we know, I mean, women in general have this undue pressure put on them to be all the things for everybody.
Sure.
At all times, whether you're mother, auntie, grandmother, whatever, right? It's like, because, hey, you have time, you're here, and then you add to that layer being a Black woman. It's like something else is just piled on you, that this is what you're supposed to do at all times. And God forbid if you're not that person who shows up for everybody and takes it on the chin. And like, nah, boy, you can find somebody else for that. Like, that is a no. So yeah, I love that question though. That's awesome. And there are some people who are having to learn to not be all things for everyone and take care of themselves. And I always think about it, and I didn't make up this analogy, but we heard about it a lot in 2020. The whole deal of being on the airplane, that if it's going down, you need to put on your oxygen mask first before you help the person next to you. Yeah, because it doesn't work if you can't, you know what I mean? It's like, it doesn't work. You got to take care of you. So take care of you. And then you can worry about whatever you want to worry about. I bet you don't worry at all. It's like, I'm saying a few prayers for him. I'm saying a few prayers, but you can't be in somebody's chaos. Like, that's just.
Sure.
No. I love that though. Oh my God. Now make sure I'm clear here. You have 5 different ones?
There's 8.
Is it 8? Did I miss something?
There's 8.
Oh my God, I must have missed one. I thought I shared everything.
Yeah,
I actually
I set up last night putting them into different categories. So they basically fall under work, love, and grief. So the work ones are women of color at work. And it's like literally a handbook of everything that I have learned and distilled down from all of the conversations that I've had with other Black women and women of color about going from being dismissed and disregarded to, like, literally that's the tagline, from going from being dismissed and disregarded to getting your bag, managing your coworkers, managing your bosses. And my favorite thing, and I really want to mention this, is that the cognitive labor that goes into being in the workplace is something I have a very unpopular opinion about for Black women. Yeah, I like challenging us. Like, folks, sometimes I think that when I challenge people, it may be seen as disrespectful. It's actually a sign that I love you, because I want you to think about something consider thinking about something in a new way, or at least understand my point. And that would be my disposition in the classroom was, you don't have to think what I think. That's actually irrelevant. You need to know what these scholars are saying in these books about Black history and be able to talk to me about it. Agreeing with me is actually, I don't even tell you what I think. What I think is irrelevant. So the way that I push on the Black women's ideas around I call the emotional overhead at the workplace. If you want to get ahead, you're going to have to go to happy hour. If you want to get ahead, you're going to have to do small talk. If you do not want to be seen as a social pariah in the workplace, you are going to have to role play, because, not say this with my whole chest, because your job description is only 10% of your job. The other 90% is that role. And if you don't want to play that role, that is your choice. I am simply suggesting that you make it intentionally. Period. There is an expectation in predominantly white workplaces that you are going to do the dance. Where am I wrong?
You know what? Let me tell you. I know we're over. Because typically it goes an hour. I'm going to wrap this up in like the next 2 minutes.
That. Okay.
No. You're good. It's not. I know people are doing their own thing. It's interesting, and I don't. My work history is bizarre. I'm going to say that because I got in at a different time, and I can't even explain how I was able to just literally be my authentic self at all times. When I tell you I can't explain, I cannot explain it. I cannot. To the point where I'm actually quite surprised I wasn't fired multiple times.
Sure.
For me just literally, and I'm okay saying it, cussing somebody out. It's like, we're not doing that today. And if I tell you not to say something and you use code language and I tell you, if you keep going there, I'm going to cuss your ass out, I meant that.
Sure.
And it was just like, oh my God.
So and that's possible too. And you're very fortunate for that.
But here's the deal. I do understand that there is a game that is played. That part I understood. And I also, I'm going to say, learned how to play that game from this side without having to do a code switch or to tap dance with somebody.
Sure.
But you are, okay, let me not do that. We're going to have to do something else. Because clearly you like to bring up all the stuff that we should be talking about. And I want to talk about it. But let me do this because, like I said, we typically go here for a good hour, but we don't mind going over because I don't know if you have some place to be. I don't know about that. But I do want to wrap this up. Wrap this up with saying, what's in the future? What's in the future for you and your business? What's going on there?
So I am so excited. I am working on the memoir, which will come out on March 24th. I'm shopping a book proposal to be released through a major publisher. So I'll have like my stuff, and then God willing, I'll have my other stuff, like monies. And the other thing that I'm really excited about is starting a Black Ocean from the Future YouTube page that will have, that will have children's books and animation specifically for all children, but featuring Black children. I'm excited about the
awesome.
children's channel.
Mm-hmm. Oh my God, that is so awesome.
So we expect that Christmas 23.
Nice.
Just to be up and running with like a couple of shows.
Right.
And sing-alongs.
I think that's a very exciting news. And when people talk about representation and what have you, it definitely matters. I mean, Lord knows when I look at my niece and my nephew, my great niece and nephew, my grandbaby, and they see themselves on TV and their eyes just light up with joy. That's huge. Is like people are like, why do we have to have a Black mermaid? Because you need it. You need that. And before I go, Dr. Tachi says, congrats. Hey, thank you for hanging out with us. Lord bless. I'm saying Renina's bringing up some topics that clearly need to be discussed. We may just have to do like a simple Zoom or a group call or something and do a recording off air to play later. But yeah, I'm highly excited about everything that you're doing. And like you, want to give you your flowers for sure. Because, when I look at what I grew up with, and I talk about it often, we had Jet and Ebony and a little bit of Essence, and that's about it, right? And unless you had parents that instilled that pride in you and told you that no matter what anybody says, you are made in God's image and that's all that matters, then you may not get to see just how wonderful you are, right? So again, when I saw that post about Black girls from the future, I was like, oh, I'm going to get into this. We are about to get into all of this because that just like speaks to my heart. Speak to the relationships that I have with other Black women. And I just absolutely love everything you have done and will do, of course, in the future. So again, congrats to celebrating 10 years. Salute to you. Congrats to those 10 years. And I can't wait to see what happens. And of course, I got to go back and check because I just thought there were 5 journals. I know we had 8. I completely missed that. We'll have to get that in there. We have to get that in. We'll also have to add a link to those journals in the comments so that people who are watching now or in the future in the replay can pick up their own journal for either themselves or their loved ones, because we like to give good gifts. Is there anything you want to leave with our community before we close this out?
Sure. I'm an excellent closer. So, this is wonderful because it plugs my next book and it's actually something I believe. 2 for 1. People, I love bodegas. And so I was in the bodega in my neighborhood and I had on a hoodie. So this was like earlier in this spring because it was cold enough, right? Because it's like really hot right now. And the man in the bodega was like, okay, so what answer do you have for me? And I was like, I know you are not tall. Who you talking to? Who are you talking to? I'm from East Oakland. Don't do that. Don't do that. And he was like, no, your shirt. You said Black girls are from the future. I was like, oh, my answer is that community is the future. Being able to do anything alone. I didn't say unity. I said community. And I would actually add to that communities are the future. And I say this because what we have seen over the last 3 years is a very specific way that some vulnerable people have been thrown away. Right? And I think that Black communities across the country are grappling with who is and is not included in whatever the tent of Black peoplehood is considered. And who is a member and who is not. And so I think about that, and I would like for us to consider community being the future. That's what I would like to leave with.
If I had a mic, I'd drop it. I mean, if I had a mic, I'd drop it. Oh my goodness. Thank you everybody who is tuning in now or watching the replay. Thank you, Renina, for giving us your time. Thank you for challenging me in my thoughts, because I like to go. We could, again, you and I afterwards. Well, yeah. So we will see you all next week. We've got Dr. Dale and we're going to talk about emotional intelligence in the workplace. Until then, see you all.
Thank you for watching another episode of Small Biz Bites with Gwendolyn R. Houston Jack, where we chat with other creatives and small business owners about their journey. And we also invite you to like, share, and subscribe to the GR Houston Jack YouTube channel, where you can get the latest and greatest.